special guest, and I want to invite her in. Her name is Lindsay Connolly, and I've got to know her over the last couple of months. Hey, Lindsay, good to see you tonight.
Hey, Sandy, it's great to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and Lindsay's going to tell you a little bit about herself, but she's the Northeast Network Manager of Church Engagement. You got quite a title there, lady.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And she's with MomCo, and so she's going to tell you about that ministry. And as I said, we are going to be taking opportunities to have questions and have a conversation along the way as well. So I'm going to disappear and listen. Lindsay, will you take it away? And if anybody has any questions, again, put those in the chat, and we'll look forward to those. So I'm going to stop my share so that Lindsay can start hers, and away we go.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sandy, again. I am just so appreciative to be with all of you tonight. As Sandy mentioned, my name is Lindsay Connolly. I am the Northeast Network Manager for the MomCo. I work on our church engagement team. I am a mom, just a little bit about myself. I am a mom to three. My youngest actually just went to kindergarten last week. So this is a whole new era of mom life for me. My husband and I and our kids, we live in Wilmington, North Carolina, but we are actually from Maine. We are from New England. So it's very near and dear to our hearts. We lived in Maine up until about 4 years ago when we relocated for my husband's job. And I actually grew up in a small Baptist church just outside of Portland, Maine. And so I was a stay-at-home mom for about 8.5 years. And that is actually when I found what was called MOPS. And our church had a MOPS group. MOPS, if you're not familiar, stands for Mothers of Preschoolers. And so I used to attend that when our older kids were born. And then, like I said, we relocated for my husband's job. And in that relocation, I actually went on staff and I worked in children's ministry for our church. And that is actually where I helped to start a new MOPS group and kind of oversaw that as a part of my job. And then I stepped into a staff role. So I have now seen this ministry from all different angles. And it's just something that's super near and dear to my heart. And so really our goal for this webinar is to just talk through practical ways to engage moms and look at, how we can connect moms with your church and in turn, drive church growth and really be able to reach into the community to reach those unchurched moms. And I always tell people this is a ministry that is certainly for the moms who are already in your congregation, who you can engage, but also, and almost even more so for the moms in your community that you can go out and invite to your church and to be a part of this community. So I just wanted to share a little bit about what MomCo is. So as I mentioned, MomCo stands for formerly called MOPS International, which was Mothers of Preschoolers. We recently rebranded to bring clarity to the fact that we are a ministry for moms of kids of all ages, not just specifically moms of preschoolers. And this ministry has been around for over 51 years. MOPS actually started back in the 70s with a group of 7 ladies who decided they were going to get together on a weekly basis and just support one another. They were going to support each other as moms and wives, and really with the goal of supporting their own faith as well in bringing themselves together in community, but also pointing each other to Jesus. And so this is a ministry that encourages and equips moms of young kids. We want to equip moms to see potential in themselves as mothers, as women, as leaders. We care a lot about developing our leaders in just empowering women to be able to lead well. and just creating community with one another, but then also in relationship with Jesus. We are the world's largest outreach to moms. And like I said, we partner with the local church to be able to minister to moms. So here at MomCo, we are actually a global organization. We are in over 100 different countries. We have our curriculum is translated into over 25 different languages. We have over 72,000 MomCo meetings throughout the year, all over the globe. And in the last 7 years, we have seen 49,000 women come to Christ through being a part of a MomCo ministry. And something that we always say here at MomCo is that we feel that reaching moms, when we reach moms, that is exponential evangelism. And I'm going to read to you a quote from Mandy Arioto. She is our MomCo CEO. And this is what she says. She said, when a mom comes to know Jesus, chances are her kids will too. What we are seeing being sparked around the globe in the next Jesus movement is starting with one of the most overlooked groups of people, the moms. And so we sometimes get the misconception that like, oh, this is just a mom club. This is a mom play date, but it's so much more than that. We are mobilizing moms to reach into the community, to reach the unchurched moms by equipping them to evangelize and leading these women to Christ. That is our heartbeat for this ministry. So last fall, MomCo actually partnered with Barna Group to produce a study. They did an 18-month study, and it is called Motherhood Today. And what Motherhood Today is the state of moms, particularly coming out of COVID, post-pandemic, and just looking at the staggering number of women who came out of COVID feeling lonely and anxious, and really all the things that reflect the way our society came out of COVID. And through that, they really looked at, what is the local church doing well to meet the needs of moms? And in what ways is the local church not doing well to meet these needs of moms? And how do we bridge that gap to come alongside moms and in turn spouses and families, really to engage with them, to build community, and point them to Jesus. And later on in the webinar, I will actually have an opportunity for you to be able to download a free digital copy of Motherhood Today. It's full of wonderful statistics. A lot of pastors love to read it, so be looking for that later on. So this is just some of the stats that came out of Barna. And so what they did is they looked at just polled a lot of moms. And what they found is that 79% of moms feel that their church does not support moms well. 81% of moms feel that they are not able to contribute meaningfully in the world. And 33% of moms regularly feel lonely and isolated from others. This is a whole group of ladies right now who had maybe their first babies or their second babies during COVID. And, that is such a pivotal time, those first few months of a mom, being a new mom, and to be isolated. There are so many women who are looking for community as a result of that. And we see that in our own MomCo group that I'm a part of now. So many moms who are like, hey, I've been looking for this community because I was lonely. And so we want to reverse the trends. That is our goal. Nearly 1 in 4, so 25% of Christian women are dissatisfied with their church. Fewer than half of them report that somebody cares for them. And 89% of moms feel a lack of support. And so we gather all of this data, and it's hard. It's hard to read, but we see it. And so what we did when we took all of those studies together, we kind of pulled it apart and we said, okay, what are the 3 things that we know? What are the 3 things that we can tell from this? Number 1, moms today are in search of community. It is a desperate search. We get about 20,000 moms a month that search our website looking for a MomCo group. We know that the need is there. Women are just looking to be in community with one another. Second thing we know, the church has such a unique opportunity to help meet the needs of these moms and what they're looking for, a sense of togetherness, to be in community with other women. And lastly, Christian mothers are meeting the needs for discipleship and providing faith formation in their children. Moms, through this research, and you'll read it in the Barna study, moms are the biggest influence of faith formation in their children. So we're going to pause. I think Sandy's going to come back in, and we're just going to talk through, like, is there anything surprising in hearing about motherhood today and all of the Barna statistics? Is there anything surprising about this data? Do you see it in your own church, in your community? Is this something that you have encountered?
Yeah, so tell us about that. What was surprising to you, and if you're seeing it in your own church, and are mothers saying that to you? Because I do think, and it does go back to, do you think, Lindsay, that just the overwhelming stuff that they're doing with their children?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is really interesting. And so I know I told you earlier, Sandy, I was actually with my MomCo group this morning, and we had about 60 women that were gathered together at our church this morning who brought their children. We had childcare set up for them, and we were all together. And we played a little, it was our first day. And so we played a little get to know you icebreaker game to start it off. And we played Four Corners. I don't know if you remember that game
Oh, yeah,
from
yeah.
childhood. Okay, so they ask a question, and then there's four corners of the room. And if you, depending on the answer, whatever pertains to you, you go to that corner, right? And the last question that they asked was, what brought you to MomCo? What are you looking to get out of this? And overwhelming, like I'm talking 95% of the women in the room chose community and connection, that they were looking for friendship over childcare, over mom's nights out, over having an hour and a half break from their kids, things like that, but that they were choosing that they're looking for community.
And I think you've already, kind of underscored it a little bit too, is the church really could be a place for that.
Mm-hmm.
It can be that, there could be a place for that to happen, to facilitate that to happen.
Sure.
And I do say to churches that, because a lot of people say, well, I can't fit another thing in. I can't fit another thing in. And so at our church, one of the things we say is that if you have it on your heart, then we're here as leaders to support you to do that. And
Absolutely.
there may be somebody in your church who's a mom, or maybe an older woman that really sees that need and wants to start something like that. So
sure.
I do think, as you said, the church has this unique opportunity to do that. So
absolutely.
I think
and we're going to get to that later. We're going to equip those leaders to do that.
That's right.
That's a good segue.
That's right. That's exactly right. So I think, the vast majority would certainly underscore that this survey is saying things that they probably already could see with mothers. I can even see them mothers disconnecting just because they don't feel like they add value to the community, to the church, because I just can't do what I can do. So that's
sure.
All right, cool. All right, well, carry on.
All right. Okay, so now that we've kind of looked at the problems, we've looked at all the Barna stuff, what we have discovered, what do we do with it? And this is where outreach and growth starts here. As I mentioned, we are the largest outreach ministry for moms in the world. We are prioritizing evangelism. We are a community and a resource to reach the unchurched. And this is, like I mentioned before, this is certainly a program in a ministry for the moms already in your congregation. But we want to use this as well to reach into the community and engage those moms. And through that, we are going to equip your leaders, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, how we're going to do that to be able to lead, to evangelize, to help these mothers, learn who Jesus is. So there's three ways here at MomCo that we really effectively engage with moms through the MomCo. Number one is through our framework. So we provide training and content on things that mothers are already talking about to start and help, grow a successful ministry for moms. So when you start a MomCo ministry with us, we provide you a full year curriculum to be able to use for the moms. And when I say that, all of the meetings are laid out for you from start to finish. Each week has a different topic that pertains to motherhood. These are things that moms are already talking about, but through a faith-based and a biblical lens. And so we have teaching videos every week that are produced by MomCo, along with discussion questions, weekly devotions to support those. It is all laid out for you. We also provide a full kids curriculum as well that we write here in-house at MomCo. And so something that's super cool about this and what our goal is that as a mom comes in and, gets to meet with other women, that her kids are also being fed. They're learning the Bible stories. They're singing the songs, and they are, for some of these kiddos, this might be the first time that they've learned about who Jesus is. And so that is our goal, is that the moms are learning the gospel, learning who Jesus is, but that her kids are as well. We also provide a full leadership training. So something that we feel super strongly about as an organization is leadership training and leadership development, because we want to equip women in your church to be able to lead these groups and lead them well. And so one of the very first things that we do with brand new groups, brand new leaders, is we have a full a MomCo leadership training course that they take. They do it all online at their own pace. It takes about 40 minutes. And then we actually have a whole leadership team here at MomCo designed just to pour into MomCo leaders. And so what we do is we provide ongoing support and training throughout the year through monthly online cohort groups. And so we just always want to be a resource and always be equipping. And one of our other goals behind our leadership team and our leadership development is that, as you can imagine, sometimes when you have a group that is run really well and a leader or two has to step away and there's nobody to pick up that baton to keep going, the groups can fall flat. And so our goal is that we are always equipping and training the next group of women to be able to lead these groups and to lead these moms well. We also provide marketing materials for you. We help with publicity as well. As I mentioned earlier, we have over 20,000 moms a month searching our website for MomCo meetings in their area. And so we would put you up on our website. And so that's just a way that we also help to support. The second way that we help to effectively engage moms is through partnership. So we partner with the local church to help foster spiritual growth through community involvement. And what I mean by that is, let's say if you had a really successful VBS this summer, this is an awesome way to be able to engage those VBS families who maybe came through the summer and, you're looking for a way to engage the moms, to bring them back. This is a wonderful ministry to be able to do that. Also, if you are a church that has a preschool at your church, this is also an awesome ministry to be able to engage those preschool moms as well. I talk to a lot of churches who have preschools, and they're like, hey, we have all these moms coming to drop their kids off a couple of times a week. But we want a way to engage them and to create community among these moms as well. And so this is a great opportunity for that. I actually had a really interesting conversation with a pastor of a church in New Jersey just a few months ago. And he was telling me how the church had a preschool in at their church for about 18 years. And he said for the longest time, they couldn't figure out why they had all these families coming to drop their kids off at preschool, but they wouldn't see them at church on Sunday and they weren't coming to engage at the church. And he said, finally, it clicked with him. And he said, why do we think that our building is evangelizing for us? Why do we think that these families, these moms, walking through our doors to drop their kids off is doing the evangelizing for us? He's like, we didn't have a program or anything to offer these moms to be able to come and to be a part of it. And so I just found that to be really, really interesting. And the third is connection. This ministry builds leaders. It connects with the unchurched and it deepens congregational commitment. I have a great, actually, example of this. There's a sweet, sweet lady that I met about 2 years ago when I was working on staff at our church in children's ministry, and her name is Vicki. And Vicki came for the first time with her family, and I invited her to MomCo. And I said, hey, you should come to our group. And she said, well, she said, I don't even know if we're going to stay. They were actually coming from a totally different religion. And she said, we're just trying to learn what Christianity is and what this is all about. And I said, well, you should come anyway. And so fast forward 2 years later, Vicki's family is members of our church. They're a part of our church. She and her husband are both serving in children's ministry. And Vicki is actually one of our MomCo leaders this year, leading kind of our hospitality team. And so it's just such a full circle example of the connection that this ministry really builds. These women through MomCo, they become the hands and the feet of Jesus to every mom who shows up and provides support when moms need it most. And that is essentially what moms are looking for. So kind of going back to the Barna stats, these are statistics since starting a ministry. So we looked at, moms who were a part of a ministry and how their lives changed as a result. 91% of moms involved in a MomCo ministry felt supported and empowered by their church. 82% of churches have experienced significant growth within their church, and 96% of moms are more confident in sharing their faith with their kids. So we're going to take another break. We're going to invite Sandy to come back, and we're going to talk a little bit about the framework. How is your church, helping to meet the needs of moms? What does your framework look like?
Yeah, and so again, be sure to throw that in the chat and just some questions that came up. So typically, when do moms group meet? Are there particular times that they meet?
Yeah, good question. So what we are seeing, so the typical structure, back when MomCo got started, or when it was still MOPS, it was a lot of stay-at-home moms, right?
Sure.
A lot of stay-at-home moms who had their kids throughout the day. And so most would meet during the day. Our group, for example, meets Tuesday mornings at 10 o'clock. However, with our rebrand to the MomCo, we are starting to see more and more evening groups pop up because we have a lot more working moms. I'm a working mom. We have a lot more working moms these days than we had 50 years ago, even 20 years ago,
Right.
And so we have groups that meet during the day. We have groups that meet in the evening. We even have weekend groups. We have Sunday evening, Saturdays, like you name it. And that's the nice thing, the logistics, the time, the day, everything, you make it what you need for your group.
Right. So people really, because as you were talking about VBS, I mean, we've seen a switch in Vacation Bible School as well, when typically you used to do VBS, in the mornings, 9 to 12.
Yes.
Because again, as you say, there were stay-at-home moms, and so that's kind of how how it is. But now we're trending to do it in the evening. So so it's good to really think outside of the box. I think some people say, well, we really can't do a ministry to moms because then we don't have people during the day. But maybe they can think about doing it in a different different format. Doesn't have to be that way.
Absolutely. And I'm actually just going to address, I see a question here. How do you
Yep,
start when your church has no moms with children? And that's a great question. And I get that a lot, actually, because a lot of churches will say, hey, we don't have a lot of moms
right.
or kids, but we want to. We want to invite this younger generation. We just don't have anything for them. And so something that I always recommend to pastors is like, if you don't have moms right now, there's moms are out there. They might not be
That's
in your
right.
building,
Yep.
but moms are all over your community. And so what I would say is you hit up your preschools, you hit up library. A lot of, pretty much every library has a mom story time or something like that. Anywhere where moms are gathering, those are, even rec departments, things like that, you community centers, moms are out there. And that's part of what we help you with is helping with that marketing, with that promotion, so that if a mom, in your area is interested in joining a group, she can go onto our website and search by zip code and be connected to your group directly. And that's kind of how the process works. So um, moms are out there. We will help you, with that and finding where they're at. But the other nice thing too is that we actually get a lot of inquiries even from moms who are like, hey, I really want to start this ministry, but I don't have a church to host it. And so that's part
Ah,
of what I do as well is
mhm.
trying to connect churches and moms together.
Okay.
And so that's always a fun, when those work out, it's always super fun.
Yeah. And I would say to people too, because, that is an awesome question because there are churches that only have a couple of moms. And
Yeah,
so the other thing is, as you say, your community does have things like in our town, we're getting to the place where all of our younger kids now have moved up to
yeah.
to be with the older kids. So our preschool ministry is now on an on-call basis because
Hmm.
we don't have any
Okay,
preschool on a
sure,
regular basis. And
sure.
so so it's now time to cultivate the younger families. And I think you can do that if you go to things like your fairs and things that
Exactly.
are happening in your community. How about going to library with when they have story hour?
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And
Yep.
I'm sure if the library, if you already have a connection with the library, I mean, they'll actually let you give flyers out if you're going to start a mom's group. Or
Absolutely. Yep.
and if you say, if we can get 5 moms that are interested in starting a group, we'll start a group at our church.
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
So that might be a way to do it. Now, tell me a little bit about your curriculum. So the curriculum, I'm just wondering what what a typical group would look like. People might like to think
Yeah,
about that.
yeah. Yeah, so what a typical meeting looks like is, usually you come in, and I'm going to just say this, that groups can look totally different. We have
Right.
some groups
Sure.
that have all the bells and whistles,
Yep. Yep.
and then we have some groups that don't, and one thing to note is that, if you are having a day group, let's say, and you have a lot of stay-at-home moms, right? Childcare is a huge piece because moms need a place to put their kids, right? A lot of times with our evening groups, they might not offer childcare or very limited childcare because
Hmm.
essentially, the kids could be at home with dad or a babysitter or grandma, whoever, and so those kind of logistics in terms of childcare are also up to you, even though you get that full kids curriculum. It's not a requirement. But what a typical meeting looks like is, and I'll just talk in terms of our group.
Okay. Yep.
So,
Hmm.
we come in, we always have coffee. We ask our moms, we do a sign up sheet and just say, hey, can you help bring food for a week or provide a snack or something like that? We try to do some sort of light refreshment. Um, and then we have our moms drop their kids off. Our group does offer childcare, so we'll have our kiddos dropped off in childcare. The moms come in. We actually have a little bit of a larger group, and so we will seat all of our moms at round tables. And what our goal for that is that she gets to know that small group really well. That those,
Oh,
6 to 8 ladies are really become, her group, her small group for the
right.
semester. Um, if you have a smaller group, they'll just meet all together. And so we usually come in and, offer fruit and all of that. Usually there's always some sort of larger icebreaker activity. So a game or a craft, something that is going to tie back to the curriculum, the topic for that week. And then we move into the teaching time. And so all of our topics, as I mentioned, are faith-based and biblically based, but are more topics-based. And so usually topics that moms are already talking about. So for example, last year, for example, we had a week on friendship. We had a week on, the temperaments of your kids, how your kids are wired. There was a week on marriage. There was a week on grief. And so a lot of different things that moms either are currently experiencing, maybe have experienced in the past or might experience in the future. And that's really our goal, is that all the topics pertain to all of the moms, in some way or another. And so then we'll move into the teaching time, show the video. Our videos are about 10 to 20 minutes long. And then there are always discussion questions to go along with those videos. So we'll spend a good bit of time, with your group, really discussing those and kind of diving in. We have weekly devotions that we can send our moms home with and that sort of thing. So that's kind of what a typical structure would look like.
And 2 hours, is that usually
about an hour and a half, I would say, is probably average.
Yeah. Okay.
About an hour and a half.
Gotcha.
But certainly we have some groups that meet for an hour. We have some groups that meet 2 hours, so
yeah.
But on average about 90 minutes.
Yeah. So again, and a MomCo group could be a small group in somebody's home, I take it. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be at the church.
So, we have a lot of those too. A lot of moms that will meet together at somebody's house, or they'll take turns and they'll all meet at each other's houses. Gotcha. We have some groups that meet at coffee shops. We have some groups that meet at community centers, even at the local library. So yes, moms are meeting everywhere.
Right. So again, think about that. I mean, this is certainly, they're a group that need to be ministered to, correct? And they have unique, they have unique needs, and and so this may be again an opportunity, especially, as one person said, we don't have any moms. Well, there are moms in your community, and you just, maybe the the blessing that's going to, bless them to start a group at your church. So that's great. And it doesn't have to be every week, right?
In fact, most groups actually meet twice a month.
Oh, gotcha.
So every other week.
Right.
Most groups meet every other week. Yeah.
Okay. So wow, how doable is that?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Huh. I'm thinking this for my, like I said, we just on call, just started our preschool ministry on call because all our kids graduated, and we now need a new crop of younger kids. And so maybe the moms, group would be helpful for that. So
absolutely. Anyway. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so somebody's asking, will this work equally well with the single moms mixed with happily marrieds? And
yes. Yep, absolutely. And we certainly have a mix in our group. We have moms from all walks of life, and I'll say our group is probably represented by like 10 different churches. We even had a group of ladies from the Mormon church who were coming last year, which was just super cool. And so yes, certainly single moms, married moms, we have a mix. And that's the one thing that we have modified, that you could modify if you wanted to, is, for example, we have a week on marriage. If you had some single moms and you just didn't feel comfortable sharing that video, that's the nice thing. You can tailor our curriculum to the needs of your group. And one of the things that we also offer is a full library of resources available to you to be able to create your own lessons. And so if there was a different topic that you wanted to do instead, you could really create your own lesson with our materials that we already have for you. So that's just one way that you could help, make that easier, if that would be the case.
Yep. Good. All right. And you're going to talk a little bit more about the curriculum in a few minutes. Okay, good.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Good. This has been good conversation. This has been good.
Awesome.
All right.
So What I'd like to do now is just to talk through a couple of pastor testimonials. Let's see if I can, there we go. And just see like what some pastors say who are already hosting MomCo ministries at their churches. So this is a church, Cherry Hills Community Church, and the pastor said, you know, MomCo is one of the best programs that our church runs to reach and connect with the unchurched. I know I've said that that is really what our goal is. MomCo helps to meet a fundamental need for young moms. And this is also another church. This is in Chicago, Illinois, the chapel. And this church said, you know, MomCo is the reason our church is growing. It gave us a way to reach young families in our community. And then they go on to talk about how all 6 campuses of their church have a MomCo ministry. So what I would like to do now, I know I've told you a ton of information about MomCo and who we are and what we do, but I'd like you to see it for yourself. And so I'm going to show a 2-minute video. This is we'll really just talk about who we're trying to reach, what our goal is, and also we'll give an example of what and kind of explain what our curriculum is for this year. So each year we have a different curriculum and a different theme. And our theme for this year is called Wild Hope. And so I'm going to show you this video so that you can see what Wild Hope is all about.
Do you ever feel like your pilot light has gone out? Like the spark that once fueled your energy, passion, and vibrancy has been dimmed under the mental load of motherhood or the disappointments of life. Maybe you don't feel like you are showing up well for yourself. Do you ever feel like your pilot light has gone out? Like the spark that once fueled your energy, passion, and vibrancy has been dimmed under the mental load of motherhood or the disappointments of life. Maybe you don't feel like you are showing up well for yourself or others. Maybe you feel exhausted from doing so much, but also like there is so much more you should be doing. Well, all of that is about to change. This is a year of new things. A new season needs a new strategy, and we choose wild, contagious hope. Hope's not a passive exercise in wishing. It's an active approach to living life engaged. Hope is generative. It creates vitality and passion when there's adversity and division permeating the fabric of our culture. Hope offers another option. It gives opportunity to see new paths and ways of living. It reminds us that we can make a positive difference in our families and communities, and that tough times will not paralyze us. Hope requires courage and trust, because to see the new thing God is doing will likely mean going into the wilds, the paths that confront our deepest anxiety and challenges that nourish our truest longings. Audacious purpose and unbridled possibilities are found when we're willing to brave discomfort and follow God to a new place. It's time to challenge our limits in the wilds and come out on the other side with stories to tell. A new season of hope is rising among the kid raisers, dust shakers, and rule breakers who are willing to do the impossible in the name of Jesus. Let's go. Get ready for Wild Hope.
Awesome. I love that video, and that was something similar to what we showed this morning. And so, you know, as we mentioned, what we do is we meet moms where they're at. We talk about real things, but through a faith-based and a biblical lens. We want to provide practical help and resources and really help moms to feel equipped to be the best moms, women, and leaders as they can be. You know, this is a great way to engage families that maybe have left your church or left the church altogether as a result of COVID. I talked to a lot of pastors about that, where, you know, so many churches have just experienced decrease in numbers over the years from COVID and are really starting to try to still rebuild those. And I have a great friend, actually. Her name is Molly, and she her family just stopped going to church altogether. After COVID, she said, even once the churches started meeting again, it was easier for them to stay home because they had these toddlers, and it was just easier for them to watch online. And she started coming to MomCo about a year and a half ago. And as a result, her family started to go back to church regularly. And at Christmas, she came up to me and she said, Lindsay, I have to tell you, she said, MomCo is the thing that brought our family back to church. And now her family is also serving. She is a part of our leadership team as well. So it's a great way to just connect with those families that once were attending and be able to, connect with your community. Another thing that we're seeing that's been really exciting is being able to partner with crisis pregnancy centers. And so I think that this is a great option, a great opportunity, rather, for churches to be able to partner with local organizations like that. It's such a cool way for the church to come alongside pregnancy centers who are starting these MomCo groups as well, looking to create community among those, moms as well. So just a lot of great ways where this can, it doesn't just have to be in the church. It can be at pregnancy centers. It can be in homes. It can be all over. As I mentioned before, we have 20,000 moms a month who are searching for MomCo ministries. And so we would love to chat with you. As I mentioned before, I work on the church engagement team. And so there are 6 of us that have different regions of the country. I cover the Northeast, which is Virginia, all the way up to Maine. And so if you are in that region, I would be your contact. You can scan this QR code if you are interested at all in just getting more information, learning, looking to see what this could look like for your church, look to get a sample of what our curriculum looks like. One of our regional reps would love to talk with you. This QR code would take you to our link tree where you would be able to select your regional rep based on your state. And as a thank you for being here today, I would love to offer $100 off our startup cost to everyone who attended live. And so if you contact your regional rep and are looking to get information, just let them know. And we will honor that $100 off for you. If you are interested in getting the free download of the Motherhood Today, you can scan this QR code here and you'll get the free digital version. Like I said, it's a wonderful resource. Pastors love to read it because it's full of statistics and all kinds of just great data. And as I mentioned, here are all of the women on the church engagement team. So if you are in an area outside of the Northeast, you can see who your regional rep is, and this is who you would be connected with. And again, if you would like to schedule a call with me, you can scan the QR code here. I'm just so grateful for the time to be able to just be here tonight, to be a part of this webinar. I just appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk about moms and just, who we are and who we want to serve and how we would love to partner with you, with the local church to just come alongside you to support the moms in your church, support the moms in your community, and see how we can partner together in doing that.
Great. And so let's just talk turkey a little bit, because you and I talked about it yesterday.
Yeah.
So if you get into a mom's, if you want to get involved with your group, so it's $500.
Yeah.
Right. And
that's correct. That's a startup fee. Yes, correct.
That's okay. And
yep.
Then and that's a one-time.
That's a one-time. Yes. Yep. That's a one-time startup fee of $4.99. And then we have if you choose to renew with us, every year in April is when we do renewal, because every year in April, we do a big theme reveal for our upcoming fall theme. Okay. And so the yearly renewal fee is $197.
Okay.
So the $4.99 is the one-time fee, and then $197 if you chose to renew at that point.
And so so I'll say this. So it's $4.99 minus the 100.
Yep.
right? And then
Yep.
some of
The
you,
$3.99.
yeah, and then some of you have signed on to this webinar with 3 or more people from your church, which now you're eligible for $250 evangelism grant, which you could put toward this, right? And then in a couple of weeks, I'm doing another evangelism webinar on leading children to Christ. And you could get another $250 evangelism grant, and that would pay for this.
Yes. Yep.
Right.
Exactly. Yep.
So, you know, and you can get for evangelism grants through me, you know, you can get 4 a year, so you can get
Yep.
up to $1,000. So,
It,
and because I know, you know, people are always thinking money, and they should, but this might be an opportunity to, you know, maybe this is the way to go. Not that we're
and
going to be given evangelism grants every year,
yeah.
but you know, but if it the one time is 500, and then it's about $200 a year, and that accesses you to the curriculum, correct?
Yes. Yep.
See?
All the things that I mentioned, the curriculum, the kids curriculum, the leadership training,
Yep.
all the marketing, all of that is included. And something I'll also mention, Sandy, is if you're sitting there thinking, this would be great, but the fall has already started, and I don't think that we could do this, you know, this fall. So I will tell you, you can start a group, a ministry at any time.
That's right.
And actually what I did with our group is we actually started in January. We started in the spring, and we ran it every week for about 12 weeks straight, so that we used the bulk of the curriculum. And it gave us kind of a soft start. Our church had never had a MomCo group before. A lot of moms didn't know what it was. And so it gave us a chance to really have a solid 3 months to invite moms. And then we took a break for the summer, and then we started in the fall, and it really gave us such a great springboard going into the fall. So if you're sitting here thinking, I don't know if we can get this going, it's already September, and before you know it, it's Christmas, you know, this is certainly something that, like, if you said, hey, in the new year, we'd love to start this, you know, we can get you going now, get started with all the curriculum materials, get the planning going. It's actually a great time to sign up to be able to launch in the fall. I mean, in the spring, rather.
In the spring, yeah. So this is again an option, you know, and if nothing else, you've thought about the importance of moms tonight, and you and maybe you know of a way to do it without you know, help, but again, resources are always good because you're not having to reinvent the wheel. And I love that it's a faith-based organization. You care about moms' spiritual health. You know that moms are looking to disciple their children. So you're going to offer, you know, some of the things that really are scratching an itch for, you know, for moms. So I think that's really good. So so anyway, so glad you could be with me, Lindsay. This has been great.
Thank you, Sandy.
Yeah, this has been great.